All right, I'm joined today with Theo Goslett, melodic death metal guitarist from Hollow World and ORPHEUS Omega. How's it going, mate?
It's good. It's good. It's been a strange time for me lately, but it's been overall a pretty positive time as well.
Yeah. So we're currently in lockdown. By the time this airs, I assume we still will be. But we'll talk about that and how you've been, using that time as a musician constructively, I imagine. But first, why don't you just tell us a bit about yourself? So let's get a bit of background on you, how you started playing guitar and your bands that you're in.
Sure. So I don't have a really clear-cut starting point. A lot of people, they'll be like, oh, I wanted the guitar, my parents bought it for my birthday, or I got it for Christmas or whatever. I grew up around my old man, my dad, and he was a rock and roll. He doesn't play anymore. I'm getting off track. All right. If I veer vastly off topic, just shout at me and be like, "Hey, come on."
That's cool.
We'll be here for 4 hours afterwards. Otherwise, so my old man played in rock bands through the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. So I was always around live music, and I was always around guitars. When I was 12, or thereabouts, I started wanting to know a bit more than just bashing, aimlessly at the strings, which I'd done since before I could do anything else. There's a photo of me somewhere standing on an acoustic guitar. They've got the sound hole underneath my feet, and I've got a foot on each side, and I'm just like bashing the strings like this. I must have been 18 months, 2 years old enough to walk, but just barely. So I'd always had an affinity or a familiarity with what a guitar was and what they were for. It wasn't until, I sort of hit that 12, 13 mark that I started dabbling a bit, and then I made a friend when I was in year 8 who took guitar lessons. And he knew a few riffs. He knew a few, Smoke on the Water, Iron Man, Sunshine of Your Love, all those super duper stereotypical beginner guitar things. He could play them, and I was like, cool, show me.
Yeah.
And we got this rivalry going, and it was like, who can outplay each other? And we discovered Metallica. Well, his mum showed me Metallica actually, and it kind of just spiraled from there. So I got started in a really slow, gradual way. I think I've always had some kind of exposure, but that's kind of a long-winded way of being like, I was always around. I didn't get interested till maybe 14, 15. As for my bands, so I play in 2 bands because I am a glutton for punishment. So I play in a band called Hollow World, and we play pretty fast melodic death metal. We've got a new vocalist, and we're sort of starting to steer away from that archetypal American take on melodic death metal, and we're starting to sort of experiment with more dynamic content. And there's still a lot of riffs, there's still a lot of technicality, but we're trying to bring in some outside influences and make the music a bit more diverse. So that's one band. Been doing that for I think we started in 2012, so 8 years now, which is scary to think about. And then the other band I play is ORPHEUS Omega. Now, these guys have been friends of mine for almost as long as I've been in Hollow World, but I didn't I wasn't in the band until last year. And that started as them calling up on me to do some emergency session work as bass player. I found myself on a Tuesday with a call from their keyboard player, Kez, and he said, "What are you doing on Friday?" And I just thought he wanted to hang and have beers. I was like, "Nothing, man. What's up?" He's like, "Do you want to come to Tasmania?" I was like, "Oh, I see what's going on." I was like, I think my reaction was, "Do you have tabs?" I managed to bash out the set with charts and kind of we just sort of, we had a good time, we had a fun time, and later on they said, "How do you feel about jumping in on guitar? We want to run as a 3 guitar lineup now." And I went, let me think about it for a bit, because I already had a lot on my plate. And I just went, these guys are my friends. This is a band that I can come into that already has the professional dynamic and the management dynamic under wraps, like, not under wraps, under control, I should say. So I'm really just stepping in and playing the role of the musician who's handed what he's got to play, and just do it. So it was suddenly a fun project, if you will. It wasn't something that I'd been invested in for a long time, that I was managing, that I was really deep in the business side. I was just coming to making music, and I was like, yep, I'm down with that. This is suddenly hobby music again, as opposed to business music. So it's a really good and healthy, for me, outlet.
So you find that a lot less pressure than, Hollow World, that you've been in for a long time, and being, more of a founder for the band?
Well, yes and no, because Orpheus, despite also being a melodeath band, they're a drastically different sound and playing style to what I'm used to. So I found, and they play in drop tuning as well. So I actually found quite a lot of their content really unintuitive and hard to learn, because I'm used to playing 7 strings, as you can tell, and playing in standard tunings. So for me to jump in, I'm hearing things. I rely on my ear quite a lot, and I learned 3-note per string guitar method, and when I hear something, I actually see the fretboard, and I see those intervallic shapes in my mind when I'm hearing the notes. So if I'm hearing a melody, I'll be like, oh, that looks like that pattern, and that's how I'll have this internal relationship with what I'm hearing.
Yeah, no, I can totally relate there. I'm the same.
Yeah,
and like yourself, I'm a standard tuning guy for the most part. So.
Yeah. I mean, back in the Hortopsy days, you guys are B standard. I remember learning that, and because Hollow World is B standard on a 7, and I just went, how the fuck? I'm allowed to swear on this, right?
Yeah, why not?
I was like, how the fuck are these guys so heavy in standard tuning? Like, there's some magic going on here. Something doesn't add up.
It's funny. I think, firstly, heaviness is subjective, but
yes and no.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I remember I went to a gig where Disentomb were headlining.
Yes.
And they're in B standard as well.
Yes.
Now, they had 3 bands play before them that were using 8 strings, probably in like drop E or possibly lower.
Yeah.
And, so you heard that for 3 sets, and then Disentomb got on last in B standard, and they just sounded so much heavier than everyone else. It was,
Totally. And I think Cattle Decapitation are not too far off standard tuning as well. So I think, tuning isn't everything. A lot of guys are like, I just want to be brutal and just wind their tuning all the way down and just...
Yeah.
But,
Well, take Psychroptic, for example, drop D, and, that's almost... Yeah.
I'm sure you probably... Maybe you can see this. Just thinking about Psychroptic, No, you probably can't see it. I've got goosebumps. So, we toured with Hollow World. We actually did a European tour underneath Psychroptic. And seeing them for 22 or 23 shows back to back was just... It was probably as close as I will ever get to a religious experience. It was just...
they're incredible live.
Yeah. I'm lost for words. They are just unfairly good.
Yeah. Yeah. So now we were talking about the whole lockdown situation before. So how are you managing to be an active band member when we've got all these restrictions? What are you doing at the moment?
Yeah, so I'm in the middle of writing with Hollow World. We're writing an album at the moment, and I am my best writing scenario I've found is when I have somebody else in a room with me. Even if they're not really contributing, just to have that presence there seems to make me way more effective and efficient and inspired. And I know inspiration is a dangerous topic because it's unreliable and it's uncontrollable. And I do my best not to rely on it. I try to be really formulaic with my creativity, which sounds like an oxymoron, but I might touch on that a little later. I don't want to veer too far off topic. But so that being said, I've found it really disruptive to the writing process. So I've been investigating using platforms like Zoom to share my computer audio and just have my digital audio workstation up and running whilst I chat with the guys in the band and hash out ideas and compare things. Now, I don't have it working yet, although that is a different kettle of fish. I know what I need to implement to make it work, but it's a little bit more work. I'm saying work a lot, but that's what I'm going to be implementing. Aside from that, I've been working from home with my day job for the last I think I'm on 3 weeks, but maybe I'm on 4. I don't know. Time is getting really weird.
Yeah, we're all losing track at the moment.
Yeah, I'm leaving the house on average, it seems, once every 8 to 9 days. It's getting dreamlike. But so I've sort of lost my topic a bit. I've veered off, if you will. So writing, creativity, Hollow World. I've got quite a large to-do list, and I've found at first I was really motivated. I was getting heaps done, and just due to a really unnatural headspace, I found the momentum has been slowing and slowing and slowing to a point where I'm almost getting like decision fatigue or option paralysis just at the idea of starting starting a task off my list. So I was actually chatting to a good friend of mine, and she suggested writing my list down physically and putting a number next to everything, and then using a random number generator to just generate a number, and whatever it lands on, I've got to do. And I thought that's almost a good solution, but I thought I'm gonna tweak this a little. So my rule is that I'll do that, but whatever it lands on, I must do for at least 30 minutes. And if at the end of 30 minutes I'm having a bad time, I'll re-roll.
Okay.
But at least, with 30 minutes, that's time to get meaningful work done. And personally, with my relationship to procrastination, oftentimes I'll put off a task and put off a task and put off a task. And then when I finally get started, bang, I'm in flow state. It's 4 hours later and I'm loving it. But the procrastination, just getting past that inactivity, getting that initial momentum is the hardest thing to overcome. So I've found
absolutely.
Yeah, and I found this random number generator to force my hand at that. And I've used it twice so far, and it's landed on things that I've gone, I don't want to do that today. But they're important tasks. I need to get them done. And
so you're forced.
I'm forced, and I've done them for the 30 minutes. And at the end of the 30 minutes, I went, yeah, I'm not doing any more of this. But I got some serious work done in that 30 minutes, and it's great. So anyone listening to this, maybe give it a shot. You might hate it. It might not work for you. Everyone's different, but I am an advocate now.
Yeah, I probably even need to try that myself. What you say about just getting started with the task is often the hardest thing. Like,
Yes.
Once you're in the zone and doing it, it's fine. But even down to practicing guitar, sometimes the hardest part is just picking up the guitar.
That is on my list.
Once you're playing, you're playing.
It's on my list.
Yeah.
And I mean, personally, just before, in fact, as all of this COVID business started, I was due to play Download with ORPHEUS. That was actually going to be my first gig with ORPHEUS as a guitarist. So I'd put a lot of work into learning this set and really pushing myself to get it basically as close to recording standard as I could in a live scenario, which is my personal goal. I want my live guitar performance to sound like a recorded performance. I want it to sound like it's come straight off a CD. That's probably everyone's goal, actually, now that I say it out loud. But we had the festival cancelled, I think, 5 days out or something. So just that letdown, that disappointment led to me not really touching guitar for a couple of weeks. I've played once since then. So tonight I had quite a big warm-up session just in an attempt to remember how to play, as I mentioned earlier, because I'm pretty sloppy right now.
But yeah, I mean, like you said, this has been a really tough time for active musicians in particular. Like plans for the first half of the year are all cancelled. I have a lot of mates that were looking forward to some really awesome tours, and everything's off the table now. So yeah, very unfortunate. But yeah, Download, that would have been an awesome show for you guys. So.
It would have been.
It's a real shame.
Yeah, but it's just one of those situations where I guess the positive is, I put a lot of work into guitar practice. I improved my skills as a guitarist. So there's definitely positives that came out of it. And we still got the marketing of being on the Download bill, so it's not all wasn't lost.
That's a good way of looking at it.
I'm all about those silver linings.
Yep. Well, let's talk about guitar a bit. So, I know you've been playing Ormsby for probably as long as I've known you.
Yeah. It's been a while.
Yeah. How'd you come to get involved with them? Because you were one of the first people I knew that was using Ormsby guitars. So. Yeah.
Well, I guess humble brag. To my knowledge, I am the third endorsee of Ormsby guitars. There was Graham Green, who's Perry's friend, and he actually was involved with Ormsby in the very early days. Then there's Joe Haley of Psychroptic, and then it was me. As far as I'm aware, I may be wrong on that, but I think that's how it rolls. So I was aware of Ormsby for quite a long time due to guitar forums. This is going before Facebook groups existed. I was really big into 7string.org and metalguitarist.org and all these bulletin board based forums. And there was a dude from Perth who ended up actually becoming the PR guy for Ormsby, Matt. And he and I'd actually bought pedals off him. We're talking like 10 years ago now. And he had a custom Ormsby made for his engagement present. His wife was like, treat yourself, do it.
Nice.
And so I saw that, and I'd always kind of known Matt a little bit just through seeing him post things and buying pedals off him and all that sort of stuff. And Perry started doing semi-custom runs, so you could choose it was a locked body shape, and there were certain locked features. But then you could go, all right, I want this many strings, I want this timbre, I want these pickups, I want this configuration. And I was all set to join the 2013 run, and then I bought an Ibanez. Because I was the biggest Ibanez fanboy before that. I was obsessive. I had like 16 at once, and I didn't even really play that much back then. And then the 2014 run opened up, and I was like, what am I doing? Why am I buying production guitars? I can have something exactly what I want. And the real carrot that was dangling in front of me, so to speak, was the fact that these were just like a $250 or a $500 down payment, and then you'd pay them off over a course of a year or whatever the turnaround time was. I think it was a year. So every month or every 2 months or whatever it was you elected, there was different options. You'd pay a percentage. So it was like lay-buying a custom guitar. And as an apprentice at the time, I didn't have the money to buy a custom, but I sure as hell wanted a custom. So I did that. And Ormsby was niche as back then. I think there was let's say roughly 15 guitars in that first run. And I have no idea exactly, but it was pretty small. We had our own little Facebook group, and we all knew each other, and it became this really cool community. And I got my guitar, and I already had a second custom on the way, actually, before I had the first one. And then I ended up shooting Perry this really long email just telling him why I wanted to, and I'd already been playing my custom live and putting up content with it, and I just said, I want to become an official representative of Ormsby because of blah 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 blah. It was a huge email, and eventually Perry actually didn't respond for ages. I was like really nervous and scared, and I was like, oh no, he doesn't want me to work for the, work is the wrong word, but he doesn't want me to be endorsed by the company. And then he came back and he's like, we'd love to have you on board, and I was like, and so it just went from there, Ormsby, they do some pretty unusual, well, at the time they were unusual for production guitar. I don't think really, aside from Agile, you could get multi-scale in an accessible production guitar. And so since then he's got like these Korean-made guitars that are like stainless steel frets and ebony and maple and locking tuners and hip shot bridges, and it's like, I have nothing. The only upgrade I could do was putting strap locks on here, and in a way I feel a bit robbed because I used to love modifying and tinkering with guitars, and he's taken that away from me because there's nothing I want to do to this.
I like the sound of that. I've never been patient enough to do that stuff myself. I always get someone else to do that stuff for me, but
I just have that insatiable nerd quality where I wanna pick everything apart and understand it and then try to put it back together. And I can tell you I've wrecked so many things with that tendency, but I just being a tinkerer has kind of led me to experiment with everything, and sometimes I have successes.
Yeah, well, there's a lot to be learned from that kind of process. So I think the very first guitar I had, which was like a Fender Strat copy, which pretty much everyone has something like that for their first electric guitar. I pulled that apart and put it back together, and at the end I was like, I could have just spent that time jamming. I think that was the last time I ever did that.
So, funny story about that. So, now I'm going to derail myself really quickly. I didn't have a Fender Strat copy as my first guitar. My first guitar had a solid Brazilian rosewood body.
What was it?
It was a 58 Les Paul copy that my dad made.
Made?
Yeah.
Wow.
Dad once again is someone who will just... this is probably where I've got my tinkering habits from. My dad's someone who will just... he'll just learn something and do it. Like, good example is he'll get almost nothing done by a mechanic. He'll buy the service manual for a car, which is a book like that fat, and he'll just read it. And he'll know like all these... he'll know how all the parts work and go together, and then just go to Burson's or something, or some sort of mechanical supplier, and just go buy the parts and do it, which is pretty cool. Yeah. So back to my point. Let's come full circle. Strat copies, first guitar, pulling them apart. The friend who I went to high school with that I had that rivalry going with, he had an Aria, a red sparkle Strat copy. And he went to change his strings. He had no idea what he was doing, and he actually took the bridge off the guitar. And he's like, oh, what the hell? The strings go through the body? And he took the guitar in the next day. He'd done that at home. This is before internet was really a thing everyone had at home. He took the guitar into school because he needed a guitar teacher to fix it. And... it was hilarious. It was great. Our guitar teacher he just cracked up and he pulled out a screwdriver and just put it back together. There was no problems. But that's a fond memory.
Oh man, yeah. As a guitar teacher myself, I've seen some amazing attempts at restringing guitars. Everything from like tying a knot around the saddle with the string, going the wrong way around all the pegs, and going through the wrong grooves in the bridge. And
I actually have a story. My own story about that. So, before I was in any bands, I used to browse melband.com, which for anyone who's not in Australia or Melbourne, was this forum specifically for local musicians. It was like Craigslist for local musicians. And there was this dude who I'd seen posting quite a lot, who wanted to talk about starting a black metal band. And now I didn't drive back then. I didn't get my license till late. I was a slacker. So he actually was going to come pick me up and take me over to his place, and we were going to jam with a couple of people and see what we could make happen. And I thought, oh, I better put some new strings on my guitar, and I was playing an Ibanez S series 7-string with a Floyd Rose bridge on there. And as I was tightening up the Allen key on the bridge to clamp my string in on the B string, the high B string, the actual bridge piece that normally it's like a rectangle, it broke in two. And I've just gone, oh my God, what the hell? And this guy was coming in like an hour. So I ended up... I fed my string...
Haven't seen that happen before.
Yeah, so the type of bridge that was on this, it was called a TRS trim, made by Ibanez. Yeah. And they were renowned for being low-quality steel. A lot of guys would complain about them being too soft and just no good. So I ended up feeding the string underneath a piece of metal and like kind of wrapping it around and then getting some pliers and tying a knot in the string and then running it up through the tuning peg and tensioning it up that way. And the string height, like the action more than doubled, but I managed to get through that session. Nothing ever came of those sessions, but yeah, I managed to MacGyver my way out of that fuck up. Whew. Yeah. Jeez. What a time.
Well, why don't we get you to play some guitar for us?
Okay.
Let's talk about your writing process. So,
sure.
Yeah, show us some of your riffs.
All right. So the first riff I'm going to play is the verse riff from the latest single that I've done with my band Hollow World. Now, the way this came to be was procrastination.
And this is Negative Gain, is it?
Yes. Did I say Negative Gain? I think I might have said another song title now that you pull me up on this.
No, I think you just said the latest song.
Ah, okay, yep.
Just checking, yeah.
Yeah, so this is off our newest single called Negative Gain. And so a little history, we toured, we being Hollow World, we toured Europe last year with the Versions Crown and Psychroptic. And we toured as a 4-piece. So Hollow World has always been a 5-piece, but our other guitarist, he just went, I don't want to tour Europe. I don't want to go to Europe. So we went, that's cool, man. Like, no dramas. But at the same time, we couldn't afford to bring in a session musician, which would involve, paying them a fee and paying for their flights over there. So we went, let's just roll with one guitar. What I'll do is I'll put the guitar riffs in the backing track when I'm playing solos, but otherwise I'll just have it me. Which was confronting and scary because being a guitarist from a 5-piece, I've always had some sort of buffer. I've had someone to hide behind. So if there's any mistake, it's not so apparent. There's that extra layer of density that just kind of, softens all the edges. So I
totally know. Yeah.
Yeah, I know you know about this.
Yeah, so Autopsy went from a 5-piece to a 4-piece for a brief period before we got Lukey G in.
I remember that.
Now it's a 4-piece again without me. But it was a huge difference. Like you kind of feel naked without that blend of two guitars to, kind of cushion the sound a bit.
Yeah, it's absolutely terrifying. So I was really practicing my ass off. Really deep diving on everything. Like every riff, I was sitting there and metronoming till I had it as perfect as I could. And I actually got to a point where I could windmill through some of my guitar solos and I was like, sick! This is where I need to be. I have absolutely lost those chops right now, but I digress.
I've lost my windmill chops, I can tell you that.
Yeah, you're going to struggle with that. So there was a point in time where I was just starting to really resent practice, but I needed to do it because this was the first overseas tour and I really wanted to represent what we were doing as well as I could. So I was very, very driven, but also hating the practice. And one day I was procrastinating and I still had the guitar in my hands. I was still making noise, but I came up with the start of this riff. And that became what you're about to hear. Now, hopefully, so I'm just for anyone listening, I'm actually recording, I'm recording direct audio so that so this can be synced up, because I just don't trust over the internet audio. So,
yeah.
Hopefully it sounds half decent. Yeah, that procrastination became a riff that sounded like this. And I was like, and it didn't come together in one hit. It took a little while, but I mean, it did come together in one session, but I didn't just pull it out of thin air. But yeah, I sort of had that, and it was sitting around for, it became my sound check riff. And I sort of went, well, I need something after that. And thought, well, it really sounds like a verse, so how can I get a chorus? And then it sort of became a song like that. So, yeah. It just...
While we're talking about that song, actually,
yeah,
something I wondered. So the video clip looks sick, by the way, and I mean, you guys always have
no credit for that. That was all our video team.
But yeah, you guys always have really cool videos, like zombies and dinner parties and all kinds of things. But yeah, the one thing that got me worried with that new video though is the guitar getting soaked.
Yeah,
with the rain.
Yeah, and you'll notice
what was the deal there?
Well, you'll notice that guitar isn't an Ormsby. It actually looks like it's an Ibanez. It's not. It was a oh my god, what was the name? Like I Sing or something. I went on Gumtree and I found the cheapest instruments I could. I think I ended up paying like $110 for 2 guitars. They're 6 strings. The song's played on a 7. They're just cheap, awful guitars, and we beat the hell out of them. We burnt them, we covered them in wax and set them on fire again. We spray painted them. We hit them with axes. We like seriously distressed the hell out of them because the video clip is quite gritty and dark. We're like, well, we can't be playing these sparkly purple bloody guitars. And my other guitar that I use for Hollow World is a headless. It looks like a prog guitar really, but I thought, we can't be playing these pristine, beautiful instruments, especially ones that are going to go, you don't see it in the clip, but they went fully underwater. We shot drowning scenes for all of us members as well. For anyone who hasn't seen the clip, it involves this really big trench filling with water and drowning everyone. And
I'll chuck a link to the clip, actually.
Oh, yeah, cool. But so I got these nasty guitars that were sacrificial. I actually gave them to our videographer. I was like, just take them, man. Like, they could be cool props, and I don't want them taking up space in my house because I'm never going to use these again. So yeah, they live on. You might see him in one of his videos one day.
And that reminds me, actually, I've got a bass from a I Built the Sky video I made a cameo in. And yeah, he did a similar thing. One of the video clips was just like a punk kind of song, and he bought these cheap instruments just for the clip, and then he gave them to the guys that were in the video. So I got his bass from it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So what about so we've talked before about using some like Hungarian minor and some of those exotic scales and stuff.
Yeah.
I know you guys use them in some of your riffs. Have you got anything you can show us?
Absolutely. So let's have a little quick chat. So Hollow World started in the early days. We were very much an at the gates worship band. So we were just playing straight up harmonic minor. So which is just a minor with a raised 7th for anyone playing at home. So you've got a natural minor. Let's play it in B, which would be harmonic minor would be which is that neoclassical kind of vibe. It gets things a bit spicy. So, we started out with that, and that was kind of just the go-to thing. And then our other guitarist, he's pretty into classical stuff, and he's actually getting really into he's getting really into piano and classical composition now. He wrote a song in Phrygian Dominant, and I was like, whoa, what the hell? What's this all about? So Phrygian Dominant is a minor with a flat 2nd and a sharp 3rd. So it's actually, you could think of it as a major scale really, because it is a major tonality having a major 3rd. So instead of, we've got And I misinterpreted this when I first started playing it, and I put in that sharp 7, the major 7. So I actually still to this day don't know what this is called. I've heard someone call it a Byzantine scale.
I think there's a few names for that, but double harmonic major possibly.
I've heard that one too. Yeah.
It's got the 2 minor third intervals.
Yes.
It's actually, if you just tremolo pick straight up that scale, you got the Mizzaloo, Dick Dale surf rock song.
Totally.
Yeah.
So I ended up writing a lot of stuff in that, which is really interesting because it has a 3 semitone relationship there, or 3 chromatic notes, I should say. So yeah, let's have a little look at some riffs. My most prominent one is one that I haven't practiced for a long time. This is actually my favorite riff I've ever written, and it was, once again, an accident. I was, I think, recording something from one of our old CDs, and this happened. And it is off one of our tracks. It's one of those tracks that never made it to the stage, though, so we've never really played it much.
Okay.
And it sounds something like this. Actually, this might just be straight Phrygian Dominant, now that I think about it. Well, let's see what the 7th does. But it goes something along the lines of... Well, let's try it again. Nope. Yeah. Yeah, a little sloppy, but something along those lines.
The audio kind of went funny there for me, but when I listened later on your...
yeah, that's all right. That's why I've got the direct. Yeah. Yes, validation. So... yeah, that's actually just a straight Phrygian Dominant. But even so, you know, that's a relatively exotic scale for a death metal band. Yeah, I guess that's one of the things one of the ways I incorporate it. I actually played a solo recently, and I put a melodic minor run in there too, which was that was an adult moment for me. I was like, I'm going to try to use melodic minor.
Yeah, that doesn't get represented much in metal. Harmonic minor might, but not so much melodic.
Depends where you're looking. Guys like Wes Hawke and Brandon Ellis, they use modes of melodic minor all over the place. I guess realistically speaking, it's jazz minor because they're running the same notes up and down.
Yeah, well, that's how I think of melodic minor now. I mean, unless you're looking at classical music, no one really uses it the old way. I guess I'm following fusion guys more, and whenever melodic minor is mentioned, it's just the jazz minor.
Yeah.
Down the same way.
Yeah. So I guess I'll attempt to play this little thing. So this is actually, it's the solo from Negative Gain. Yeah, let's have a crack at that and see if I can get through it. This is the melodic minor part, which it goes... Yeah. I make no excuses. I haven't been practicing. But yeah, I was like, it's not a real techie melodic minor run. I'm just going up through the octaves. I'm sort of doing this.
Yeah, I love using the melodic minor 3-note per string patterns too, like that. They're you got to be on your toes a bit more because every string's a different shape. So
yeah, and as someone who's a very shape-oriented player, that is a real challenge for me. I do find that confronting. It takes me out of my comfort zone. But every solo I write, I put something I've never really done before in there, and it forces me to grow. And I always curse myself, but
I did a similar thing with Autopsy solo on one of the last, or on the last album. One of the songs I kind of had to invent a scale.
nice.
I can't remember it now, but Luke wrote the riff, and he's not thinking of scales or whatever. He was just playing something that sounded awesome.
Yep.
So I was thinking, all right, what can I play over this? And I was trying, some of my go-to scales and modes, and nothing was kind of working. So I had to just tweak the scale I was using, and until I kind of came up with something different. And it was this run that just felt really strange, because it was like it wasn't any scale, I've never used before, and it was kind of like using the melodic minor. You couldn't really just rely on shapes with this thing, because I made it up for that one particular solo and never used it again.
Yeah. That's actually, funnily enough, that's how I've really approached all of the solos that I've written for recording. I really look at kind of just what notes I'm playing over, and do my best to make something that's suited specifically for that, rather than playing pattern-based content. With the exception of, I do kind of I try to write with the whole call response, tension release dynamic in mind. So sometimes as a tension building thing, I will, like that thing I just showed you then, I will repeat a phrase up through the octaves to kind of build tension, to resolve what I'm doing somewhere. But other than that, I do really make quite a concerted effort to write cognitively or in the moment, rather than going, oh, sick, I'm just going to go up this scale in thirds and just go like, oh God, let's try that again. Because I could get away with that in a lot of instances, but instead of that, let's say in the same key, I might, I don't know, I'm just pulling something out here like, I don't know, but I find doing something that's more of a sung melody than an exercise in shapes is more interesting for people to listen to.
Yeah, well, I think in the Hollow World solos that I've seen you guys do many times in all the shows we played together, and that they're always just like a really good blend of shred and melody. Like you always got those tasty bends in there, and they, like you said, they're singable.
I'm a big fan of tasty bends. I'm all about these.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I'll get it right. We'll try, but I love doing like the whole those kind of things. I love it.
Yeah. Cool. So, I think might leave it there. We've had a pretty good chat about everything, but thanks heaps for being on the show. It's
been a pleasure. It's good to just, and I'm actually going to encourage anyone who's listening to this video chat with people. Right now,
absolutely.
I've gotten so much dopamine, which I have been lacking, which often I'm quite into psychology sort of stuff. It's something that's like I wouldn't say hobby, but it's an interest of mine, and I find my own psychology is that I get a lot of dopamine from social interactions, and without that, I've been struggling. I've been feeling isolated and lonely and getting kind of bummed out, but just jumping on video and seeing someone's face and hearing their words is, to me, so much more fulfilling than just typing, hey, via Messenger, So, to anyone who's still in lockdown listening to this, jump on video. Just video call people. Do it.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'd been thinking of doing these guitar shows for quite a while, but the whole lockdown situation just made me go, let's start doing this, because a lot of us are just, we're just at home. Some people are still working and that, but most of us are at home now and isolated. So it's just, it's great to talk to other guitarists and, even get a bit of playing in there. So,
yeah, it's a creative outlet. It's not necessarily going to rehearsal and jamming with people, but it's still playing and interacting at the same time. And it's probably out of our comfort zones a bit, but it's the best we got right now. So I'm really happy to.
Yeah, that's it.
I'm happy that you threw the invitation out there to have this chat. So thank you.
My pleasure, man. All right, well, I'll catch you soon.
You will indeed. Bye.
See ya.